be on the radio.
Like a hammer, she's a juvenile scam. Never was a quitter.
With Dylan Buckingham
Tasted like a raindrop.
and Jerry Ramsey
She's got the look.
on 107.7 The Franchise.
Joining us now on the Franchise Hotline, our good friend Derek Parker, co-founder of Draft Digest.
Amongst other things.
Yeah, I'm going to say Thunder publisher for Thunder on SI.
Yeah.
Hi, Derek. How we doing?
Good, guys. How are y'all?
Magical. Thank you for asking.
Jerry, do you know the bumper song here, or is this ahead of your time?
First of all, I was going to ask you how forward you were looking to Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance at the Super Bowl, and then maybe to go down your top 5 Kendrick Lamar. But since we're just going to question the old man, no, I was going to play some Beatles stuff. I mean, what are we doing? What? Who is on the cutting edge of all hipness things there?
Mustard! Sorry.
Listen, Jerry, I'm looking out for you. I'm just trying to keep you sharp. I'm trying to make sure you know what's going on, that you're in the loop, and it seems like you are. So I'll let you have this one. You win.
Are you familiar with the Kendrick Lamar? All the kids seem to like him.
I am.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. All the kids do seem to like him, Derek. So maybe you might want to look into it.
I need you to settle an argument. We've been arguing all day. Myself, Daniel Bell, Jerry Ramsey.
It's been a debate. It's not an argument. They don't argue on Congressional Hill. They debate. So yes, Derek Parker is qualified to enter said debate. Go ahead.
Yes, please. This is not a Senate confirmation hearing or anything like that. Thunder lost last night. Worst of the season? Question mark?
I can see how this is a debate. I think if it's not the worst loss of the season, it's certainly the second worst loss of the season. I lean the Bucks loss, and I know it's not technically a loss, but I lean the NBA Cup Finals against the Bucks just simply because that's a game you should have been revved up for. That's a game you really should have had marked down to win, and you go out and you blow it and you score 81 points. I mean, that's so bad, especially in the modern NBA with the guys that you have. SGA, Hartenstein even played that game. So I go Bucks, but if it's not that one, then it's certainly this Golden State loss, which does count towards the record.
I was going to say, apparently you didn't know that game didn't count as an exhibition. So honestly, as much as I'm joking, see, we actually didn't keep that one in because of that fact, because it didn't matter or didn't count towards the standings. It did matter. But I said San Antonio without Wemby. That was my one. My two would be last night.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd kind of forgotten about the San Antonio game a little bit. And that was at least close. But, man, yeah, that Spurs team is struggling a little bit. Obviously, with Wemby, he's who he is. He should be an all-star starter. He's the future face of the league. But no Wemby, that Spurs team. Dylan, I might agree with you. You might have turned me here.
There was no Hartenstein in that game either, Parker.
Oh, yeah, come on. There was no Wemby.
The leading scorer, Harrison Barnes.
Oh gosh, no! It was
give me a second, I'll tell you.
Wasn't it the rookie? Wasn't it Castle?
Stand by for news.
Anyway, both of them had poster dunks. The one I wanted to say was Castle, and then last night, the Peyton, baby Peyton with his poster dunk. That was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, over Hartenstein, no less. I mean, that's one of the guys I think I'd shy away from trying to dunk on personally, but he went for it. Props to him.
Not to sway you anymore, whatever, kind of get on to the whatever.
Lord.
Yeah, it's bad.
There were I might try and turn you again on this one again. All right, so 7 guys in double figures for San Antonio. Harrison Barnes did have 20. Would anybody else like to take a guess as to who the leading scorer for San Antonio was? Because it was not Harrison Barnes.
I thought it was Castle. Was it not?
No, Castle was in double figures with 10, but he didn't shoot very well.
Was it whichever Champagny plays for them?
It was not. He had 12.
No.
Then I would say probably Keldon Johnson.
We have a winner! Ding, 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 ding. 22 points off the bench. I'm sorry. That one takes the cake. Keldon Johnson beat you? Nope.
I agree.
Nope.
He's Team USA.
Stop.
What? Was he not a Team USA guy?
Stop.
Okay. All right. Now I'm the jerk. I get you. But okay. So anyway, back to this Golden State loss from last night. I mean, you waste so many performances. The J-Dub performance. Hartenstein has 18 rebounds. And, of course, Shea's second 50-point game of his career. That is why I think that this is the worst loss, because it just seemed like everything was working, but none of it turned into a win for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a combination of Golden State just really got going down the stretch. I mean, they were hitting shots that genuinely they don't hit too often. Slow-mo's hitting deep fadeaway twos. Pods, who has not had a great season. Brandon Pajemski is hitting some really deep shots that are highly contested. And then it's a combination of the shooting that OKC had. I mean, Hartenstein, while he was hitting a glass-hard shot, just 2 for 10 as a center, not really something you ever want to see. Lou Dort hasn't really been able to find his offensive groove since his game that he missed. Cason Wallace shot poorly. Jay Will shot poorly. Aaron Wiggins shot poorly. So it kind of snowballed into this perfect storm for the Warriors to go ahead and steal a game from Oklahoma City in Golden State.
Derek Parker's our guest here on 107.7 The Franchise from Thunder SI here. I wanted to ask you just, what do you think the chances are tonight we see Dub in that reserve role for the All-Star game?
Yeah, I mean, I think statistically and impact-wise, he's done enough to be there. This is just a loaded Western Conference. We talk about it all the time. And I genuinely believe, and I believe I said this a couple weeks ago to you all, I think it's the best the NBA's ever been. So, I mean, it's not a slight to get snubbed or be first out or second out. I would imagine right now it's 60-40 that he's in. But, again, I mean, this roster and this Western Conference is just so loaded that it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't be nonplussed if he wasn't there either.
I do want to get a little more into Shea's 52-point performance last night. Seemed to have it really going in the first half, and it really didn't let up still well in the second half. But it just seems like in the last month, man, the guy's getting whatever he wants. He's hitting fourth quarters and what have you. Is this peaking too early? Is he going to be able to sustain this getting into the playoffs?
I think it's certainly sustainable. I mean, Shea's shown us over the last 2 to 3 years that he's as consistent a player, especially scoring the ball, as they come. I think, honestly, even these 50-point performances, I could be totally off base, totally out of touch, but I tend to agree with Shea and Mark when they said after the first one that this isn't really even the ceiling that he can play to. I mean, like, sure, the numbers are fancy, they're sparkly, they're shiny, but I don't know. I didn't get the impression watching either 50-point performance that this is the best version of Shea. I think we've seen better shot-making nights. I think we've seen better nights with him as a floor general. And I think I don't want to necessarily say this has been to the team's detriment, but I think it's been a little bit hard for other guys to get in grooves. And I saw Shea say after last night's game that maybe his 52 points was not in the best interest of the team to win the ball game. So I think Shea has proven he's a consistent player. I think he'll continue to be consistent, but I think he does need to find a little bit more rhythm for him and his teammates.
So last time we had you on, Derek, we were kind of talking about Cam Johnson and what that looks like, and I know today's an easy day to be like, well, there needs to be some changes, which I don't buy into. But aside from that, do you feel any differently than you did the last couple weeks about the Thunder making a move at the deadline with, about a weekish to go?
I don't. I know that a 3-3 record in the last 6 games is obviously gonna push people to think about this a little more, especially when Cam Johnson is doing what he's doing with Brooklyn. I still feel the same. I think I get the argument for adding Cam Johnson. You get rid of a little bit of depth, you add a really good scorer. It seems like this team needs 3-point shooting and another guy alongside Shea who can really hit outside shots. But again, I mean, this team's 37-9. This is a team that is still number 1 in the West by a large margin, and it's a team that doesn't have Chet Holmgren, and I'm going to continue to bang this drum until he's back and people remember how good he is. This is the team's 3rd leading scorer. This is a guy that a lot of people before the season had pegged as the team's 2nd best player, and they're 37-9, and of course, he's more defensive-minded. I know people are tired of defense. It's boring in the modern NBA. They want to see points. They want to beat the Warriors on the road. but this is a guy who also scores 16, close to 17 points per game. That's going to take offensive pressure off of people. That's around what Cam Johnson's scoring, albeit not purely from three. But still, I mean, you've got a guy coming back who I think genuinely is all-star level, would provide all-star impact. So I'm not worried at all until Chet gets back. And then if things don't work themselves out then sure, you can talk about trades next year or signings or what have you.
Speaking of, in addition, some of the crazy stuff going around the De'Aaron Fox deal is eventually that would lead to Chris Paul maybe signing a a deal here because the Spurs would let him go. How do you feel about Chris Paul eventually ending up here?
I think it'd be a decent fit. I mean, obviously he was successful in his time here. He had the rapport with Shea. I mean, he obviously helped Shea become the player that he's become. It makes sense. I think the Thunder could stand to add another bench ball handler with A.J. Mitchell out. He was phenomenal in that role. As we've seen, the second unit can get a little stagnant sometimes offensively without that, like, really, really crisp ball handler. Dub does a good job in moderation, but he just doesn't have the athleticism and the handle to really do that full time. So I think it makes sense. I don't know if I necessarily see it as likely just because, I mean, Chris Paul, as good as he is and as good as he continues to be, he is a personality. He's a big addition to really any team that adds him. And I just don't know that this organization would want to add that to the formula right now, even given that he's been successful here. I mean, this is a completely different team aside from two players than when Chris was here. So I don't know that they want to necessarily change the dynamic that much. But on paper, like just basketball-wise, pure basketball-wise, I think it makes a ton of sense to add Chris Paul to this team.
So I have a weird take. I kind of disagree with you. Like, I've told this for the last 3-4 years that I really do believe that Shea's development was, I don't want to say totally contingent on Chris Paul, but I think a huge chunk of who he is as a player was sort of the beginning stage of that was molded by Chris. And I feel like if you bring Chris Paul back in, if Shea's cool with it, I feel like that would follow the rest of the team. Don't you? I mean, I think that could be just an easy thing. There's never been a bad word said about him as a locker room guy. You know what I mean? I
do want to add just a little thing to that, with attach an amendment to that too. Chris Paul wants to win a championship, and this would also be his really his best opportunity, probably
very
going forward.
Gary Payton-ish of him
to win a championship with this team. Therefore, humbling him a little bit to maybe what his demands are.
I agree on both of those fronts. I think that obviously there's never been a bad thing said about Chris Paul in terms of being a locker room leadership guy. There's also never been anything bad said about this Thunder team. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we've seen them. They get along really well. They seem like easygoing guys that wouldn't be slighted by the adding of anybody, especially a legend like Chris. I'm just wary in general. You guys both know how dicey these things get in the NBA just in terms of chemistry. It's another thing of where if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, yes, this second unit could stand to add ball handling, but if it comes at the cost of a little bit of chemistry issues, and again, I'm not saying Chris would add that at all, but there is the chance that when you add as high a profile a guy as Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time, that it happens. I don't know. I'm really just playing devil's advocate because, again, I think Chris is phenomenal. I think he would fit flawlessly into that second unit, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows when you add guys like Chris Paul to a basketball team.
See, that's kind of where it's a weird, how do you process it? If A.J. Mitchell gets back, and do you trust him in the playoffs to still be as great as he was in terms of creation and being that guy in the second unit, or do you just hand it over to Chris Paul and say, go do it? It's kind of a fun, I think it's kind of a fun debate, really. And the one thing I will say is I would think that the Thunder would tend to side on the development aspect of it with AJ, but who knows? It's crazy.
It's always sunshine and rainbows with you, Derek. So, super appreciate you coming on with us. Where can they find your stuff, man?
Yeah, so at Thunder on SI on the Sports Illustrated Network, Draft Digest on the Sports Illustrated Network. And then I think I talked about it last time. I dropped a mock draft on my YouTube at Derek-Parker. So, yeah, that's out as well.
And you did say Cooper Flagg is good? Yes?
Sources can confirm that Cooper Flagg, Duke forward, is good at basketball.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, good. Because this rookie class sucks.
I won't go that far, but have they subverted our expectations? Sure.
All right.
That's awesome.
Great stuff, Derek.
Appreciate it, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Derek Barker joining us here on the franchise.